It doesn't say to seal, but we can.
All right.
Yes, guys.
I did not see it, no. Minutes?
Yeah.
I have them on
I'm
my
gonna
desk.
pull the 2 signature pages out for you to sign off.
Maybe already hasn't done because of the special meetings.
No, because we don't approve them at,
Makes sense.
we'll approve them. Both of them, like tonight's meeting and the last one at our next regular.
Is we don't need the city attorney's signature on it if he's not here. That's one nice thing. Eating dinner on the run. So,
Yeah.
Austin had a meeting and I had call and give them all the name and I
so
was just trying to hurry.
what I'll need to do is fill in who's all present and who isn't, and then when we get to the motion, and then the vote,
Mhm.
and then I'll have you sign it because I've already sealed it.
That's complete. That one?
Oh, everybody got it.
This
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This one deep.
I just grabbed this one up.
Is it leaking?
Yeah, it's
Oh
leaking.
dear.
Yeah,
Ready?
I thought it may have been a sealer or something, but I
There you
tested it.
go.
For you haven't had that that long.
Is it
Really?
Bristol?
I was gonna say somebody's
Yeah.
walking.
It's got it on the,
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Oh shoot, I need one for Woody. Sorry, I forgot. Welcome.
So start.
Well,
I did it.
here.
Well,
I
guys,
was ready to do it. I'm gonna be like,
I do.
and
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
we'll call the meeting to order. Rhonda Hamby. Here. Jerry Kremeyer.
Here.
Christina Smith. Crystal Wilson. Here. Mary Jowers. Here. Scott Layfield.
Here.
We need to get a motion to approve the agenda as it's set out.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as set out.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll turn it over to Rose.
okay, well, last Tuesday in the mail came the long-awaited loan agreement that we've been waiting for on the water project. And so, just to highlight, information on this is a total of 1.8 million. And if we end up using all of it, it's totally forgivable. What the city will be responsible for as we pull the money down, there will be some interim interest payments on the money that we pull. At the end of the project, if we haven't utilized all the money, they'll do a loan amendment. And this is a technicality on their part to show what monies were actually used on the project, and then they can take, if there's leftover, they can take and move that money over onto another project for someone else. But this will be specifically for the well project. So I did email the Wilson Group and let them know that the city had received the loan agreement and that we were going to have the special meeting tonight for you to consider approving it and passing ordinance 693, which basically states that you're willing to enter into contract with the state of Kansas for these funds, and that the money will be used specifically for the water project, and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to sign the paperwork.
got a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for making those copies. And that, so
Anybody have questions on them? We go through.
the template is pretty much the same. All they do is go in and plug in the town name or the rural water district, the date, the amounts, interest rates if they're applicable. And so, yes, it's pretty candy. Did send a copy of it to your city attorney for his records. I have a letter that he is supposed to do. I guess we'll have to touch base with him to find out where that's at. And then there'll be, what I've asked him to do is a summary of bond ordinance, which would be this first paragraph here that we would publish in the McPherson Sentinel, and that instead of publishing the whole ordinance, save a little money there. And so I have to work with him, but considering their cutoff line, it probably won't be published until next week with the way the McPherson Sentinel now publishes. So, but work with Reese on that and get that taken care of.
I've seen an effective loan agreement date of May 22nd, 2025, that's correct?
That is correct. And how we will do this as bills come in on the project. I will actually prepare what we call a request for reimbursement. You will approve the bills at your city council meeting. I'll have you sign off on the reimbursement, then we'll send it in to Topeka, and then they will all electronically deposit the money in the city's account, and then you can write checks in that. We should be able to, some of the costs that the city has incurred with some of the test hole drilling, we should be able to get those reimbursed too. Just got to make sure that all the clauses and everything are in the contracts with Ned and whoever did the test hole drilling. So, yes, but that should be able to help the city out some.
I might be a little bit behind, this may have been done before my time, but where was there a test hole dug?
Yes, I actually believe it's right out in the vicinity of where the existing wells are.
Oh,
I can't exactly tell you where it was, but we have to stay within a certain parameter distance of the
Okay.
well, or else we have to file for new water rights. And so if we can stay within that, I think it's 500 feet distance, don't quote me on that, is we can do what they call a change in point of diversion, and that would just be moving the connection fee to the new well to hook into the
Gotcha.
line
Okay.
in that.
Got your questions answered? So I guess we'll ask for
A motion.
for ordinance number 693. For the loan agreement.
So for the motion for ordinance number 693.
Second that.
Who's second?
Jerry. And all those in favor? Opposed?
That, we just need signatures on stuff
Just the
now.
signatures.
So is,
You wanna sign?
You're the mayor.
You get the big check.
You're not,
well,
you're not,
it isn't even a big check.
Oh,
I mean, so we draw the money down as we need it, and then luckily, you know, even though we've been waiting for this for a long time, in essence, you know, fate was kind of on our side because we ended up getting additional grant loan forgiveness money to do this project instead of the city.
I was just making a
I-
joke about
I
how
know.
much we get paid as council members.
Yes. So, yes,
public.
but. And then if you, since there's no other items on the agenda, you could ask for a motion for adjournment.
Okay. Can I get a motion motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion for adjournment. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Okay,
Aye.
you're Austin?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Opposed?
Now, this is general information, since the meeting's over with, this is just general information. I got a phone call from Brian Bowles from Kansas Rural Water. He told me he had been down here helping you work on the lift station. And that, I worked on that project when those pumps went in, so it's 20 years ago, because I looked it up, because it was 2005. Is how much does council know about the issues with the pumps? And are you getting quotes? And I just don't want to be overstating
No, you're
something
good.
that,
I've talked to a few people. Not every single person knows. I mean, I've kind of talked about it in council meetings, but I did get a quote for a whole new lift station. So I do have that.
okay, is that for like a submersible? Okay, because, and is it the same brand that's out there? I think
No.
Ryan said it was HFE
Yeah, that's
is
it,
what's
yeah.
out there. Are you looking like at Smith and Loveless or something
I
like that?
can't remember exactly what
Okay, that's
brand
fine.
it is.
Is,
But they gave me a quick, rough quote. And I guess if we wanted to keep going forward with something, they would come out and they would do more to make sure that's exactly what we want. But it is about
Okay.
165.
okay, and as I briefly told the mayor, is I want to make sure that that quote is basically a turnkey type scenario, that it hooks the telemetry up and everything, so and that they can talk to each other. Because the last thing you need to do is put in brand new pumps out there and then go out there and babysit everything.
Yeah.
In that which you have been doing from what Brian has told me. And that, so, the other thing that Brian has mentioned is that the city could apply for what we call an urgent need loan from National Rural Water Association. I don't know all the terms about it, other than I know it's at 3%. So I don't know if it's 5-year, 10-year, 15, whatever. I need to do a little bit more research on that. But if that's something that you would like me to go ahead and continue getting information on, and Austin can work with whomever he's working with, and Brian, that the city can make a decision on that. Unfortunately, we're past the pre-application time for KDH&E to get on their intended use plan. Depending on how far this goes out, maybe we can get on the amended, I don't know. But it's gonna be whatever it takes to pull information together and how fast council wants to move on it. So, like I said, this is just some general information out there, and wanted to get you all on the same page as much as possible. And, as information comes in, then you guys can make decisions at council meetings and that. But like I said, this is just general information. No action on anything tonight. So.
And you mentioned that, like the liners.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was anything else that the city would be looking at doing besides just the lift station. If we went to National Rural Water, we'd probably just do the lift station component by itself. But obviously, there is what we call I&I in the system, infiltration inflow with all the rain, because he's spent so much time out there having to babysit the lift station. And that, so we know there's some issues with the sewer system. That's something that if you had an engineer put together what we call a preliminary engineering report, they could take a look at the system and tell you, 9,000 feet of pipe needs to be replaced or relined, or 19 manholes need to be rehabbed or replaced. That would be all covered in that report.
Because Austin, how much more was that running out there?
So they run about an hour a piece a day. They ran 13 hours and 11 hours in 24 hours.
A lot. Of course, you know, when it's dry out, you don't notice it, but,
Exactly.
you know,
I'm hoping that once it dries up enough outside, and we start getting some of those big cracks in the ground, I'll have KRWA
they
come
do
over
smoke
and do
testing.
smoke testing.
That would be a wonderful idea.
That'll show any leaks.
Yeah.
That'll help a lot without having to scope the whole system. That costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if we can just smoke it, take videos, and kind of gather our information from that, it's a lot cheaper.
How does that work? You just go in based on the vicinity of where the lines are at?
Basically, you take a manhole lid off, and they put this engine on the top, and it
Oh,
drips oil,
forces, okay.
and then it burns it, turns it into white smoke. There's a fan on it, it blows
Is
the
that
fan.
like what they do with engines too, to check gasket leaks and stuff? Cause I just had that kind of done to my truck.
But that's what it does.
But
And then the smoke starts coming.
Right, it start coming, you know, illegal taps, drain spouts, cracks in the ground. We know that pipe's been in the ground for a long time. And is what you were mentioning about the liner, there's usually two ways to repair that. One is to dig up the existing line and replace it, or there's another word they call form and fold lining, and you go through the manholes with the material, and they insert it in, and then they use hot water or hot air to blow it out, to expand it, and it becomes basically a new pipe. And then they send a camera back in afterwards, and where you have your sewer line connections, it goes through, and it actually goes in and cuts a little hole into the liner to reopen your connection, so you have sewer service again.
Then the nice thing is when they're running through there, they'll clean everything, and then they'll run a camera through before they do that, and they can see the taps that are dry, and then they won't reopen those.
Yeah.
They'll measure those, so that way we get rid of all of the extra taps that aren't being used for abandoned houses.
And there's where some of the water's probably getting into the system with. In that, now if there's a place where the pipe has collapsed or partially collapsed, they'll have to do what they call a point repair, which they actually dig down, repair the pipe, and then insert the liner from there.
Is that something they can do on water mains?
And unfortunately not.
I mean, I have been to some classes and they say you can, but it's like not reasonable.
And
like that.
especially when you get to the smaller size pipe.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a
Restrict the
12 or 18-inch pipe, to be able to insert a pipe in, or, 8 inches isn't bad, but when you get into the 2-inch, the 4-inch, it becomes a little bit more sketchy from what, if it's the sewers, it's what's on the sewer side. And then, so,
Yeah, their machine that they take is actually just a little robot. There's a little deal that just spins and it throws epoxy, and that's what kind of seals up your water mains. But they can only do so far.
yeah.
And
Mayor
if
does
you
part
can't-
of that out from a number of connections and that. So.
And the biggest thing is you can't go through valves or something like that because it obviously won't work.
Which you don't have valves in sewers, you have your manholes as your connecting points, so. Yes. A lot more information than you thought you ever wanted to know about. Like I said, it was just general information, and since you were all here, and we had closed the regular meeting, that it's something that you need to know that probably is, you're gonna need to do something on it sooner than later. And that, so.
The other main reason I want to do something about the sewers is because we're finding a lot of root balls coming into the sewers. So I
Yeah.
know there's collapsed places. I just don't know where.
Where, yeah. And there's where companies like Mayor Specialty go in and they clean and televise in that. So they, around here, they probably do 90 to 95% of the sewer cleaning and televising in that. So they're very good at what they do. Okay, well, I appreciate you
Thank
all
you.
doing a special meeting here so we can get this moving. And like I said, we'll have to touch base with Reese and find out. Because I had even volunteered to stop by his office to pick up paperwork on the way up. So, yes, they never heard from him. So that's how it goes.
Does that need to be stamped or not?
We got that.
We already got it stamped.
These are the copies you gave us.
Okay.
This was the packet I printed. So it should all just be.
Okay. And then is, when she made extra copies, I mean, I'll scan this in and send it to you. But if you want original copies for your files, when I emailed you the stuff, you could print them off.
Yep, that's what I did here.
Okay.
I printed it and then we went through.
And insert it?
Yep,
Okay.
I made sure
That's
we
fine.
signed them all and they're stamped.
All right, terrific.
I think I got
Thank
it
you
all.
for the EDA trooper.
You're welcome.
How long does it normally,
Yeah, he's good at what he does.
how long does it normally take to basically, I guess, is this like said and done now? Like we just basically start spending some
Well,
time and doing
yes,
stuff?
I was
or-
gonna say, that's why I emailed Doug and Ned Marks to let them know that the city had received this paperwork. So you can get on schedules. Yeah, and that, so, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
No, it just was her.
Brian knows how to get a hold of you, so does anyone from Wilson,
Yeah.
or if you have Darren Newfield,
Sorry.
look at it too, he knows how to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Because I've worked with